Thanks, Lisa. So I guess I know you guys are up to a lot of really exciting stuff right now, and I just wanted you to share it. Really, the sort of perspective of a media company, you might say a traditional media company, a television company that's really embraced what's going on with some of these new technologies and new consumer behaviors. What do you see? What changes are you seeing among television viewers in terms of their experience and how they're watching television?
Well, I think if I could sort of start with the path where we were 5 years ago. 5 years ago, basically, Bravo was a TV network. I hope some of you are familiar with the shows like Top Chef, The Real Housewives of many countries, many cities. So, it used to just be a marketing site. It was a site where you go get the schedule. And it contributed absolutely nothing to Bravo's bottom line. It served a marketing function, though. And now, fast forward to where we are now, and we're very deeply into social media. We're deeply into interactive TV. I just came back from CES. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us in the smart TV space, thinking where we are right now. And now, interestingly, some of the innovations we've been doing, like we have something called the Talk Bubble, where you watch the show and you interact using social media, and you can talk to some of what we call the Bravo celebrities. So you, as a person, can sit around and talk with the Real Housewives and give your thoughts, etc. So, the first time we did, I had no idea. We just sort of built it, threw the platform out there, millions of page views. So, okay, it was driving engagement. But then we started tracking it over several weeks, and we realized their friends were telling their friends, and suddenly the ratings started going up. So now we're starting to impact, for Real Housewives of New York City, they saw a 10% rating lift solely because of these, the Talk Bubble viewing parties. And now we've added an iPad app, so now when you watch, it's two-screen. We were the first one to come out with a kind of co-viewing app, so you have the iPad. The minute I saw it, I saw what a difference is. And all of a sudden, you just have this thing, and you're talking with your friends, and it's very different from a mobile phone. And you can play video and show photos, and you can really have a two-screen experience. And you do a lot of it based on research. We have one of the highest dual-screen users. It's just sort of the high population of women in their early 30s who like to do that.
What are those numbers like right now? I mean, what percent of your viewers they've got some kind of screen in front of them when they're watching television?
I can't remember. But the research, of course, I just remember the big stats is that it's between us and another network, and we sort of take over the first place.
I think the latest number I'd seen just overall was about 30% of U.S. viewers spend part of their television watching also, on a phone.
I mean, honestly, in our case, I think it's the highly interactive content. The audience is very passionate about what they care about, and we've trained them. Mm-hmm. I started 5 years ago with, hi, vote, who do you think should win Project Runway? And, right away, hundreds of thousands of votes. I was like, oh, so I tend to sort of, per your book, follow the customer, which is in our case, the audience. So we're usually almost catching up with them, and you see what they're doing. And then, like, for instance, recently, the last year everyone's been talking about virtual merchandise. And so I was like, okay, well, what can we do? It's not like I'm going to build a Farmville right away. So what can I do? So we decided as an experiment, let's just do what we do with voting every week. What do you think about so-and-so? But we'll give them the opportunity to dress up a Real Housewives paper doll. Okay, I was like, okay, we'll just try it, see what happens. And you have the opportunity to do that. The first week we did voting, and I thought, will they know how to do it? Will they know how to buy the stuff? How much stuff will they virtual? First time, 10 times the votes we normally get, and that has continued consistently from Real Housewives of Atlanta all the way through.
So this is a virtual paper doll, and you're buying virtual clothes.
Yeah, and you get to vote, and you get a code, and then you can dress up the dolls more. So I don't know, is it like they're obsessed with paper dolls, or do they just is it more like a gaming function, or whatever it is? But you just have to try stuff, and then it hits. And it was really, once again, you just have to sort of follow what they're doing and sort of understanding what they're doing. And then now one of the big pushes we're really doing for 2011 is really around loyalty and rewards. And, it's a lot of, now my current challenge is I feel that people are getting badge fatigue. So, Foursquare and doing all these things. So, but how to make people feel like ultimately they can even receive physical rewards by really engaging our content more and more.
That's great.
Which is going to benefit my bottom line.
And I wanted to ask you, from sort of your business perspective, what do you find is the difference, or what do you think has worked? Because Bravo is very obviously forward-leading on this, and obviously a lot of traditional media companies, they've got vested interest in established revenue streams and kind of an old model, and have been maybe a little more hesitant to experiment. What do you think is, what do you think is important? What would you tell people, or what do you think makes a difference between those who are really ready to to jump in and try to be more innovative about trying some of these new approaches that you're doing?
I really feel like you have to just study your brand. It really depends on your brand. I mean, Bravo happens to be this hyper-engaged, reality crazy brand. Whereas, news has done a lot of really innovative things in the digital space. So, and sports has done a lot, particularly live. Last year's push for us was really around real time, and now we have real-time conversations not only happening during the show, but all the time. And I believe that it's about having a real-time conversation in your brand, sort of the next day water cooler, but ultimately I'd like to do that conversation around advertisers. So the idea if you have the Real Housewife passionate person talking, maybe you could have a Target or a sponsor up there, and they're also having this sort of tweet battle, which we call, where you're talking about the brand, what's in, plaid versus stripes, and that sort of engagement and the sort of crazy passion you see around the fans can be translated to a brand. But there's certain risks involved with that too, and we're just starting the process, so we'll find out whether brands are willing to be that transparent as well, because when you have real time, the bad comes with the good.
Yeah, and if you're maybe a brand like Disney that's tended to be very controlling of your brand properties and equity, and maybe that's a hard
so
step to take.
you do have to kind of accept what comes with it, with that experimentation. But I'm hoping as a next step that feedback is really going to start impacting our programming and have a real-time effect on what characters are working and not working, and that the audience feels that they have a say in things too.
So what would you say are I'm hearing in the different programs you're talking about, from that example, actually getting ideas for the programming, to something like the not Farmville, but the paper dolls example, where people are paying for the virtual.
Yes, they also pay for the virtual goods. Although interestingly, we didn't become Farmville on the paid.
Right. So what are a lot of different objectives, which I think is great, and one of the things that I've focused on and heard from a lot of companies talking to you as I was writing the book was the importance of knowing what your objectives are and seeing that you may be using the same technology for a variety of reasons. So are you trying to get fans? Are you trying to increase your engagement? Are you trying to drive sales? What have you found have been the key, maybe the objectives that have been most important for you?
I would say it's really a process of evolution, and the key thing is about being nimble. I mean, I run a P&L, so revenue is obviously a driver. I figured out early on that by being in front in the marketplace, since we are not a huge scale, we don't have the scale of like a CNBC, so I realized that by being front and being innovative, that if you found the right marketers, that advertisers really wanted to pay, were willing to pay a premium to do the learning around whatever it was, being in social media, Facebook, real time, whatever it was. So that, that helped drive our business, but at the same time, that was also driving our engagement. So, I mean, the ideal thing is that you're driving engagement, you're driving the growth of your business, you're also, the key thing is to keep an eye on the customer, e.g. is the user happy, and are they, and how can I maximize my use? So for instance, when you look at the Bravo website growth, I noticed in the last year, SEO, that's just search engine optimization, so it's, referrals coming from, Google and Bing, they're fine and they're growing, but almost our triple-digit growth is all coming from social networks. So it's all coming from Twitter and Facebook. So now, but they're staying much shorter amount of time. So those social network people tend to be a little more transparent. I think it's because they're coming to those parties. So what I need to do as a business is figure out how to get them to stay longer and how to transfer them over to my other larger businesses. So when you say what I'm trying to do everything in a very calculated way without losing that loyal core user who's reading every blog on the Real Housewives at the same time.
Great.
Do everything at once.
Well, thanks very much, Lisa.